All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Chad. I'm a peer leader here at the Wilkes Recovery Revolutions R3 Center, and I'm joined by my friends.
I'm Justin, I'm a recovery coach and transportation for R3.
I'm Shore Goforth. I work at Phases at the Transitional House as a peer support.
And we are here to talk a little bit today about how we're passing the message. How are we sharing our recovery experiences, and how are we helping other people grow in their recovery? One of you guys want to start it? Or you want me to start?
Yeah, you would start.
Okay. So obviously recovery is my job, and I get a lot of satisfaction out of doing that, but that's not really enough. One of the easiest ways for me to share my experience in recovery is through my interactions with people. I interact with a lot of young people on a day-to-day basis, and there's a lot of times where they know what I do, or they know what my past is like, and they come up to me and they ask me like, hey, what are you doing different? I can remember the way that things were versus the way that things are very, very different. What are you doing different? And that provides me with the opportunity to kind of share my experience. Well, this is what my life was like. This is what I went through, and this is where I'm at now. And I mean, honestly, it's one of my favorite parts of recovery is being able to reach out to other people. What do you guys think?
I'm Justin. I also work in recovery, and other than just the day-to-day things that we do, I have a friend group in another state who just recently I've been getting phone calls asking about like their siblings, what should they do regarding like their siblings' substance use and things like that. And it's really been a blessing, honestly, to be able to help somebody else in their recovery journey.
Thanks, Justin. I'm sure.
Hey, I'm Shore. Yeah, I agree with what both of you guys were saying. And, working at Phases, I get to see people transition through all the, process, living there in the intake and then going to an apartment of their own. And then, eventually getting a place of their own and watching, them get their kids back, get a car, get a job, all that stuff, and see them grow and to see them, their peace of mind and just, and, I can relate to Justin too, because I have friends, outside of Phases that have asked me for my input, and I've been able to help them too.
Thank you, Sword. Thanks, Sword.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The biggest, one of the coolest parts about my particular pathway of recovery, which I use a 12-step pathway, is the idea of sponsorship as well. I can remember when I first came in, the only thing that I really had to talk about was what things were like at that current stage of my life. I got to engage in that chaos, which was, it was a very difficult thing for me. And I got a lot of input from people who had been on that side and had made it through that side of things. That was very beneficial. I took some of the suggestions of that program and got a sponsor, and they were able to give me a lot of guidance and experience through the things that I had been through, like the other older members of the group. And it's cool now to be able to be on that other side where I get to work with people who are still suffering or recently new in recovery, and getting to kind of be that ear, provide that guidance, or point them in the direction of somebody who can give them better guidance than what I had. Not everybody's circumstances are the same. It's just it's been a pretty cool experience.
I work at a restaurant on weekends sometimes, and a few weeks ago I was walking up to a table, and when they ordered, she kept making jokes about rehab food. And it wasn't until like the third time we interacted, that I realized she was being serious. And I'd never met this lady before, but she was apparently out on a day pass for a funeral. And I was able to give her information regarding help, real help that she could take. And it was just really neat to be able to pass along hope to this woman who had apparently been just hopeless for years and years. That was a really nice experience of passing it on.
Interesting. You have anything else you want to add, Troy?
I have a story like that also. I was at my house one night, and we have an older lady that lives across the street, and she's got to the point where, you know, she shouldn't be driving, and she gets lost, and she got lost at Dollar General, lost her wallet and her keys, and this couple helped her back to her car. They drove her car for her, and I saw the car pull in, you know, 2 cars, and I was like, well, I think, you know, I already knew what it was because this has happened before. So I go outside, and the guy gets out, and I instantly knew who this guy was. He was at the detox here in town, and I went and talked to him, and he recognized me. He hugged me. He was like, you know, I did what you said. I went to a long-term treatment. I went to a halfway house, and, you know, now I'm out on my own, and this is my sister. I'm staying with her now, and, you know, and I haven't picked up and used. And that, to me, I just was overwhelmed with emotion, because that was just such a touching thing. And because he remembered me, and I remembered him, and he listened, you know, and he did the suggestions that I gave him. And it was just such a powerful experience. And, you know, I'll never forget that.
That's awesome, Troy. And that brings up a good point too. Like, not just passing on this idea of recovery, but passing on this idea of kindness. You know, passing on this idea of positive interaction with people. You know, when I was using drugs a lot, I was not a nice person. I was not somebody that people sought to be around, and I didn't have the ability to react in kindness most of the time. You know, I was preoccupied on other things. So it's really cool too to be able to, in situations like that where we get to respond with kindness, but also to be able to kind of take the time and choose that kindness. You know, what was the other thing we were talking about today? I will choose first. I will go first, something like that. You know, this idea that what I'm seeking in a situation, I'm going to project into it first. You know, if I'm in a situation that has the potential to be volatile, I'm going to choose kindness. I'm going to pass that on first. You know, but I didn't have the foresight to do that kind of stuff when I was using, drinking, doing all those things. You know, it's a very powerful tool. It's a very powerful opportunity that we've been given. It's crazy how it all works out like that.
Yes. My sponsor, early on, I also was not the best of people before getting into recovery. And I remember it was probably the third time we interacted, and we were talking about my past and everything. And he told me, he was like, I want you to remember 2 words. I was like, okay, not really knowing what he's going to say. And he told me to be nice. And it sat with me for a minute and kind of just floated off into my brain. And then, like, a week later, I just kept thinking about it. And every interaction I had with somebody that started out negatively, I just tell myself, be nice. And I told it to myself so much that I ended up getting a tattoo of it right here on my wrist. And I'm so thankful for that, those 2 words coming from him, that it just has really changed my interactions with people.
Yeah, man, because the only Justin I've known is the nice Justin. You know, he's kind of the morale officer around here. So it works out well. I'm glad you got those words too, buddy.
Yes.
You guys got anything else you want to add before we close it up? All right. Well, thank you all for joining us.
Thanks.